should do it. All right. Hey everybody, this is Jeff. How's everybody doing tonight? All right, I wanted to do a little bit of follow up with what we went over the other day about motivation, dedication, things you got to do. You got to step outside your comfort zone. But remember how I told you that you have to write stuff down in order to have success? Uh, that's 100% true. And like I said, I'm going to go over a couple things tonight, and then I will read a couple things tonight. But what I want to go over with you tonight is, first off, let's get this out of the way, because you got to understand that you're important. With the holidays coming up, you have to exercise discipline and be kind to people. You know, not everybody's bad, not everybody's out to get you or anything like that. But you got to be kind to people, because there's a lot of people out right now that, you know, with the cold weather, everybody's in the coronavirus, you know, people not working right now, businesses being closed down, especially our recreation businesses such as the food and hospitality um, industry, which is all your restaurants, your smoke shacks, your beer and liquor. It is all your like carnivals and Disney World and Disney. All these different places are shut down right now, and there's people not working right now. So we want to be positive, everybody, and we want to reach out to people that we can't. Um, I have been listening to a lot of my fellow Marines lately that are going through some rough stuff, myself included. So a lot of the advice I give is based on my own successes and my own failures. Um, Now, I have a lot of mentors in my life, and a lot of stuff comes from my mentors. But there's also a lot of things that, we always know, you're not walking in my shoes. How would you understand? I'm that way with a lot of my mentors also. It's okay to be like that. And my mentors, whether it be with the Marine Corps, military, maybe it is with my business stuff, my legal stuff, maybe one of my uplines, people that I'm on their team, so it'd be my team captains, and I've developed what I like to think of sometimes as the leadership ability. Now, I do know there's a lot of people hurting out there. I know there's a lot of people all over the world that are depressed. They can't go anywhere, they can't talk with anybody. One of my biggest things right now is, people in nursing homes and stuff, they don't get to see their families anymore. There are people died that, back in February, March of this year. That was the last time they ever got a hug from anybody. That was the last time that they gave anybody a kiss. That was the last. And it's very sad and depressing. But we cannot work in that area, meaning we can't put that in our minds. So the other day I told you I want you to write everything down, right? So this will be the first thing today. So as you can see here, I got a regular piece of paper. Simple as that. A regular piece of paper, notepad, and a pen. Usually you can go to the library, you go take one from a bank. Don't tell anybody I told you that. You're wearing a mask anyway, steal a pen. I'm going to get in trouble for saying that now. But the whole point is this. If you're not serious about what you want to do in life, and if you're not serious in taking your dreams or things you want to do in your life seriously, then you're never going to achieve them. It's funny because I cannot tell you how many business plans for different businesses and stuff. Writing a business plan is the same as writing down what you want to do. A business plan just has more detail on it. Now, I know probably 90% of you listening to this right now have never had to write a business plan. I know a lot of people that own businesses that never had, because they opened up their own business, they did their own thing, and they funded it themselves. However, if you go to a bank or somewhere, they need to see a business plan. They need to see your projections and stuff like that. Who we are works that same way. You are not taking your dreams seriously because you have not set anything to achieve them. So the very first thing you have to do is put number one, right on the piece of paper, number one. And then we'll go on to the next thing. Number one, you're going to write down what you want. Okay? Like me, I'm hoping to have, come 2021, by the end of 2021, I'm hoping to have at least maybe 6 executive directors on my team. I'm looking to open up about 30 to 40 more military units within the United States. I'm looking to travel to as many states as possible while actually being able to speak on stages at different events. And these are goals of mine, okay? But what you do is you take the ones you want the most, the ones that you want more than anything else, and you write them down. So I'll give you an example. Me, I want to spend more time with my daughter. So I'm going to write it down. Spend more time with my daughter. Okay, so I wrote that goal down. Now, what do I want to do by that? I mean, I want to spend a little more time getting to know who my daughter is, not just going through the routines and everything else. Also, one of the other things I want to do, like I said, I want to have at least 6 executive directors on my team. And the only way to do that is I have to bring people on my team. I have to train them. I have to show them that everywhere, all 50 states, Canada, United Kingdom, doesn't matter where they're at. But I want 6 executive directors more. And when do I want to get these goals by? Okay, the 6 executive directors, I'd like to have that by December 2021. So why am I doing it? I'm doing it for my daughter. I'm doing it to help people. I'm writing all that down. I don't want to just say it. I need to write it down. Why? Because when we write it down, it becomes reality. And 3, when do I want to do it by? Well, I want to get it done before December. We'll just say right before Christmas. We'll say December 23rd, 2021. So I wrote those down. That's as simple as it is. Now, if you have a lot of things you want to write them down, but always put a date on when you want to accomplish them by. And then put on there, what's the first thing you're going to do? Well, you already did the first thing. You wrote it down. Second thing, okay, whatever it is you're trying to do, you got to figure out. Maybe it's you're running a new job, a new business. Maybe it's you want to be a better parent. Okay, so start planning activities with your kids. Start in the back of your mind. Start saving up to be able to take your kids somewhere or do something with your kids. These aren't resolutions. These are, okay, for you and for you only. So, like I said, that is how you achieve your goals. Just write them down. I've got books and binders full of nothing but notes that I've taken from people that have had success and failures. And then I go back to all those. I don't just write the stuff down. I actually go back and look at them. And because my memory doesn't retain like a lot of people's does. That's the reason I have to go back and look. But each time you go back and look, you might want to add something more to your list. You might want to find a way to pick up the pace on what you're trying to do. You may shatter all of the things that you want to do, and you have to create all new things, okay? But once you do those, you need to make yourself a week plan, what you're going to do for the week, what you're going to do for the month, what you're going to do for the 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years. Now, most of the people will tell you just do, make a 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year plan. I think you got to break it down a little bit more in detail. When I opened up the nightclubs, I had a lot of people tell me it can never be done. When I got school cut, when we were in the Marine Corps, a lot of people got, they had to go into their IR and active ready reserve. They said that it was just this big fable. It was actually a thing, and I actually was able to get a school cut. That way I didn't get sent back over to Iraq or anything. I didn't do it on purpose. It's just because my college was starting at a certain time, and everybody told me I could do it, so I did it. I had a lot of people tell me that I'd never make it in the Marine Corps. I'd never make it through boot camp. So not only did I go to the Army boot camp first, a few months later after I graduated high school, I went to Marine Corps boot camp, and I was like, how can you do that? Because there's a thing called a split-out program. I had a calling. I watched the commercials on TV. So inside of me, I knew it was something I really had to do. I wanted to do. It was a gut feeling. And when the chance came at me, it hit me like a block, like a bag of bricks. The person that came to me had the same last name as me. The only difference is he had 2 S's in his last name. And because of that, I listened to him. I know it sounds weird, but that's how I started out. You have to motivate yourself when you're doing things. I know people say, there's no such thing as motivation, or, that you should not, they don't like the idea of goal setting. I've heard all these, but just because you word it a different way, it's all still the same. You've got to be motivated. You got to go in and fake a smile. When you can't fake a smile, you have to, you have to talk with people. You've got to do the research on things. And what's funny is it helps you grow as a person. My growth was when somebody told me I couldn't do something, I always felt I had to do it. But then I learned how to achieve it even faster by writing it down. So that's why writing stuff down is very, very important. The next thing is kindness to people. You may not know it, but when you go in for like an interview, all right, and I was actually one of these bosses, and you were to come to me, and this was when I had, the nightclub. We're still on the nightclub stuff. So when somebody came into me, and they would actually come up and they look like crap, I actually put that on their application they handed me. When people came in and they turned in a resume or a application, I would ask them just a couple questions without them knowing who I was, just to get an idea for who they were. I've had other employees or other partners, talk to this person, see what they say to you compared to what they say to me, and I put that on it. So you don't start going after the job or the position or college the day of. You have to start planning. You have to start walking the walk, talking the talk, doing whatever it is to be done, whatever it is to be necessary. One of the things I started with something like YouTube was when I started getting into stuff with my daughter, I had a lot of positive feedback, and I found a new way of being able to help people. But by doing that, I also discovered there was ways I could preserve memories, ways that I could make sure that later on in life, because I don't remember pretty much anything after me being 6 years old, or before I was 6 years old. Uh, you know, and so I started learning to do a couple different things. Who you are inside, it means all the difference in the world. You got to go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. I went over all that yesterday, and this was just a recap from yesterday. So write it down. Forgive yourself, forgive others. Now let's get in today. What we have to do today. What is it that we're going to talk about today? Well, today it's going to go into how to motivate yourself. What you can do, what you have to do from day one. Okay. One of the things I've always hated doing was running, but I found myself doing it more and more because I took small steps in running, and eventually I started my competitive edge is more important than me not wanting to do something. So I was always, whenever I was in a race, I was racing to win. Whenever I was doing something, I was doing it to win. Whenever I was out there, being told I can't do something, that was just some more motivation for me to win. Why? Because I do not like people telling me that I cannot do something. I really hate when people tell others they can't do something, or somebody tell them because they're not a certain religion, or because they don't look a certain way, or because, to me, anybody can do anything they put their mind to it. Yeah, anything. And I know there's a lot of Marines out there that are going to look at me and say the craziest things. That's just who they are, though. But you can. So take, for instance, you want to get that next job. So what are you doing to get the next job? Are you going in and talking and just learning on your own the next position? Or are you just saying, because I've been here for so long, I'm entitled to it? To me, people that have that entitlement, they're not entitled to anything. The reason why is because, to me, the greatest part about the United States, the greatest part about our freedoms, is you have to earn it, everything you do. There's no entitlement. There's nobody saying, oh, you're such and such. Now, I know people get in that attitude, but I've seen people fall from grace. A lot of the multimillionaires and billionaires, the older money, their kids got the money and they lost it all. I don't know if you knew this stat or not, but over 90% of the people that win the lottery are usually broke after the third year. So it's not a matter of if you have the money to do it, it's how you're doing it. It's what you're doing with it. It's how you prepared for it. It's funny because I always think that a lot of people, they may actually find that they have more money if they're preparing to win the lottery. How are you going to keep the money you win? Well, you may not win the lottery, but if you're doing those same preparations for it when you do win the lottery, you may have more money in your bank because you did things, you exercised caution, you exercised, you didn't take advantage of what was going on. That's what we notice with a lot of managers. They're entitled. They get the job because they've been there the longest, but they're some of the worst managers in the world. I'll just say it. They're not leaders. Some of the best leaders I've seen usually come from the younger generation. Why? Because they're motivated. They like people. They want people to like them. But on the other hand, they have that determination to keep moving forward. They have that determination to help people. And as we get older, sometimes we resort to keeping inside of our bubble. So you do not want to stay inside your bubble. Okay? Now, that being said, like I said, start the week great, end the year good. Okay? Do whatever it takes. Now I'm going to read a thing out of here. We'll just turn to the motivational page or leadership page. Like I said, a friend of mine got me this book. And if I can find what I'm looking for, that's The Wilderness. Alright. So, let's read a couple of these real quick. If once you've slept on an island, you'll never be quite the same. You may look as you looked the day before and go by the same old name. You may bustle about in street and shop, you may sit at home and sue, but you see blue water and wheeling gulls wherever your feet may go. You may chat with the neighbors of this and that, and close to your fire keep, but you'll hear a ship whistle and lighthouse bell, and tides beat through your sleep. Oh, you won't know why, and you can't say how, such a change upon you came, but once you slept on an island, you'll never be quite the same. Now, the reason why I chose that one is we get in these habits of doing the same old every single day. And this is true to when I left Quincy to the Marine Corps. And why am I telling you this? Because this makes sense. It was always the same old in my hometown. Same people doing the same thing, But when I joined the Marine Corps, and this is not a Marine Corps recruitment video by any means, and then when I came home, everything was different. You can never put the genie back in the bottle. You can never, go back to who you once were. But if you never leave, you're never going to feel that. It's always going to be the same thing day in, day out. It's the same with jobs. If you go into a job, do the same thing day in, day out, but never strive to do more, be better, or go to that extra distance or take a chance, then things will never change. The island in this poem is you. You're the island, okay? So when you get to the island's always the same, right? Okay. But if you've never been to an island and you go to it, you'll never be the same because now you're at that island. Once you learn something, you can't unlearn it. Once you learn to ride a bike, you can't unlearn riding a bike. It may be a little difficult if you've been off it for a while, but the only people that can't do it are the ones that refuse to do it in the first place. The only people that didn't take that extra path, you know? Like Robert Frost said, two woods diverge in yellow wood, and I take the one least traveled. Okay? You got to learn to think outside the box. A lot of times, people, when they're moving forward or ahead, they kind of have a way of sweeping everybody aside. But one of the things I need to tell you, that the reason why you need to be kind to these people is because they're the ones helping you get ahead. It's not you, it's them. They're the ones helping you get to where you need to be. And if you don't follow those instructions, you're never going to be happy. You know, I mean, yeah, you can have all the money in the world, but you can't take it with you. But on the other hand, you don't want to be broke and poor either. So if you bring people with you and you help support them and pull them up, now if they're mean and nasty, forgive them and move on. Stay away from them. You know, people always want to judge others. Let them judge you by your character. Let them judge you by who you really are. You don't have to re-explain anything to anybody. And if you have to find yourself having to keep saying over and over and over again, that means they're not really your friends anyway, because you have to keep explaining something to a friend. You should already know it. That being said, you know, tomorrow's Wednesday. You know, tomorrow's hump day. Does everybody remember why Wednesday is the busiest day of the week? Well, because you're not looking for the weekend yet. And by the time you recover from Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday is about the best day that most businesses get out of their employees. To me, I don't like looking at work days as a 7-day week. I can work 7 days a week and be just fine. I actually look at it as an opportunity. But so many people, they live only for the weekends. So if you're living just for the weekends, don't do that. You know, you do something great every day. You know, I know, like I hear every day, oh, Monday. To me, I look at Monday like, oh, yeah, got to get in there hard. You know, that's great. I can get up there and get that stuff done because they're opened up, you know. Sundays are kind of harder, you know, and so are Saturdays. Why? Because most places aren't open. You know, it's hard to do work. It's hard to do business. But it's also hard to get around the people because a lot of people stay in, they sleep, they're in their bubble. But come Monday, they're all out there again. And you get another chance to do whatever it is you do best. You have another opportunity to be great. And that's what I want each and every one of you to know, is that every day you can be great. Sometimes when I talk it makes sense, other times it may not, but it'll eventually sink in. Tomorrow we do a fireside chat. We'll have fireside chat at 1900 or 7 p.m. Central Time. And Mike, he will be here this time. I did talk to him on the phone and everything else, and he will be hired and be ready to go. And the fireside chats only go for 15 minutes. I set a timer and we take them for 15 minutes to let you know why you matter, why you're important. And when you're going out, understand this. There are people going through things and they're faking a smile right now. They're faking the funk because they're trying to get out of a bad situation. And if you're rude to them or if you don't care what they're, and you just kind of get perturbed by them or say stuff about them, deep down you don't know what they're going through. And that brings me to my last thing. If you don't know what somebody's going through, you don't know what they're going to do next. And because of the 22 military men and women that kill themselves every day because of the coronavirus and the suicide rates being up, there's a story I heard a long time ago. And to this day, I really like the story, but told by the right people, it brings a tear to your eye. It talked about a young girl being abused in school. She was kind of, had a hard time at home, you know, her mom and dad really weren't listening to them, they were separated. And when she went to school, she was kind of quiet, and she was smart and everything, so, you know, it wasn't, grades weren't making her happy. They weren't poor or anything, so it wasn't money making her happy, but she didn't feel like she belonged. She felt the whole world was against her, and she felt like a failure. But every day she went to school, she smiled, how you doing, you know, talked to her friends. One day, a boy goes up to her, and as she was walking home from school, and the young man said, hey, how you doing? He's like, hey, mind if I carry your books? Mind if, and she goes, okay, and he introduced him, and she goes, well, my name is such and such. And anyway, it turned out they became best friends. And every day they walked home from school, they walked to school. Eventually they got married. They got through college. Man, the hardships and just the, you know, but they had each other. They had somebody in their life that was looking out for them. And one day on their 20th wedding anniversary, she told him that she had a big secret she's been keeping it from him. She said, I want to tell you this now, and I don't know why I didn't tell you this. but I want you to know something. You saved my life. He's like, okay, and how'd I do that? He goes, well, you remember that day that you came up to me and introduced yourself and asked to carry my books home? And he goes, yeah, man, you had a lot of books. She goes, all throughout high school, I was bullied. You know, mom and dad didn't listen, teachers, everything was falling through the cracks. Nobody understood. She goes, I felt like I was the burden in the world. And I didn't feel I had a friend in the world. I just felt like I was the biggest burden. Well, you know what? I wasn't going to waste time with anybody and tell them my tale or anything else. That night when that day you came over and you took my books and you kind of make fun of that my book bag was heavier and, man, I had a lot of stuff. It was because I cleaned out my locker. I cleaned out my locker so nobody else would. I cleaned out my locker because I didn't want my mom or my dad, to have to go there and have another burden if I didn't want them cleaning out my locker. And he's like, why would you clean out your locker? Because within 20 minutes of getting home that day, I was going to take my life. I was so depressed, so lonely, I didn't want to reach up to anybody. I didn't want to seek out help because I was the problem. And I always felt like I was the problem. I always felt I wasn't good enough. I always felt like, I repulsed people and I was going to take my life. I had it all mapped out. I had it all planned so there wouldn't be a burden on my family or anything else. But that day, I cleaned up my locker and was walking home with how I was going to do it, what I was going to do it, where I was going to do it, and I've been planning on it for a while. But then you showed up. You showed up like an angel out of heaven. You showed up when I needed you the most. You showed up when nobody else did. You called and you talked to me and you made me feel important because you gave me your time. And I had a new friend. And you never left my side. We've been together now for 20 years. And that day, it took you to change my mind. It took one person to say hello. It took one person to say how you're doing. It goes back to the starfish analogy. You may not be able to save everybody, but the ones you do save, they're grateful. The ones you do talk to, they're grateful. The ones that you do go out of your way to say hi, they're grateful. We just don't always know it. We need to learn to start thinking outside the box. We need to start thinking of others. It's not a religion thing. Don't get me wrong, I love God just as much as the next person, but what are you supposed to tell somebody that's atheist, that doesn't believe? Or what do you tell somebody that's agnostic? Or what? The whole idea is all you have to do is show kindness. Kindness is one of the most important things you can be to anybody. And it doesn't matter who you're kind to. You got to learn to forgive people. You've got to learn to forgive yourself. If you're walking around every day, remember, if you're hurting on the inside, so is somebody else. If you're able to go up and be nice to somebody in your mind, then others can do the exact same thing for maybe somebody else. We don't know the struggles somebody's are going through. I've had a lot of great friends that were not military, that had great families, had all the money in the world, and they took their lives. Why did they take their life? Because they thought they were the burden. They thought they were the problem. They did not. It's the same in every one of them. And the reason why I know is because a couple of them that took their life I got to know really well. And you guys have heard me mention them quite a bit on here. It's the ones we don't know are the ones we have to talk to. It's the ones that we think, oh man, I got to get around them again. Or the ones that you've got to go up and pat on the back and say, hey, you're my friend. It doesn't take too much for an act of kindness. Money is not going to buy you kindness. I know some of the meanest, rudest people that have all the money in the world, and they're freaking, I want nothing to do with them. I know some of the biggest hypocrites in the world that surround themselves with yes men, but the problem is they didn't have any money at all, or if their family didn't have a name, they would never have those friends. The people that tolerate you, the ones that are kicking you when you're on the ground, and they're wanting your table scraps when you're on top. There's no in between for them. The ones that are there when everybody else is gone, those are your friends. The ones that call you up, the ones that can forgive you, those are your friends. And if you haven't made those friends yet, go out and find some. Go do something. Go talk on social media. Go do this. It doesn't take money. No one's going to be your friend for your money. They're going to pretend to be your friend because you gave them money or you did something that they needed. A true friend will not care who you're at, what you're wearing, what's going on. That's why that's why everybody around here needs to start doing acts of kindness. How we do them, I don't know. I don't have the answers. That's what Fireside Chat's all about. I don't have the answers, but maybe somebody that I bring on it will for somebody else. We need to start learning that we're important. We need to start learning that there's more to life than going to job, coming home, going to work, coming home. My family was never big about money, but they were very big about family. And as the generations grow, the reason why my family is because my family expanded. It's funny because then as people die and families get their own families and eventually they have their own traditions. But it brings me back to thinking of the Christmases over at my Grandma Coon's house. They always had friends come over all the time. There was one named Sally and I forgot the other one. But they always made sure they were invited. They always made sure that nobody was left alone. And that was important to them. They'd give every dime they had to somebody if they wanted it. But you'll discover that at least they're happy. A lot of Marine Corps brothers out there tonight are taking their life right now as I speak. Just face reality. They're killing themselves because nobody had the nerve to pick up the phone and say, hey, how you doing? Nobody had the nerve to, maybe send a message or say something kind on social media. I know sometimes people think I'm weird or crazy because I'll put people's names down there and I'll tell them why they're great. But you know what? For that one brief moment, somebody else was thinking about them. For that one brief moment, they were on somebody's mind. They were part of somebody's life for that single split second of a moment where somebody said your name aloud, or somebody gave you a compliment when you're not around, or somebody did something or said something. For that one brief moment, they were the center of the universe. When I first went into the Army, and between my junior and senior year, I did the split up program, and I went to boot camp that summer. We got to go on stage, and they said, this is going to be your 20 seconds of fame. That you may never have it again, but this is your 20 seconds. Say who you are, where you're from, and then move on, because you're going to be your 20 seconds. And that's more true than ever before. People don't feel like they're important. They don't feel like they matter. They feel like they're the burden. Or they feel like people won't forgive them. Or they're not worthy of being forgiven. I have a priest friend, Father Jim. It's funny because he'll call me every few days because he's worried about me. He's worried about me because I'm worried about you. And being 86 years old, I think he is, he's still out there trying to make a difference in people's lives as a Franciscan. I know that one of the things I had talked to him about was when all this child scandal stuff was going on and everything else. I know a lot of priests and a lot of people in different faiths, they resorted inward and they were scared to talk to people. But that's not why they were put on this earth. You can't hide from who you are. You can't hide from what you're put here for. You just can't worry about the 2% that make it bad for everybody else. Just like I always say, police officers are awesome. I have several friends that are police officers and stuff. But I also know that sometimes they can be one-sided. I also know there's a 2% of every police force has bad apples. Why? That's just how life is. But you can't judge life by the 2%. You can't go around thinking God hates you. You can't go around thinking that you don't matter, you don't make a difference. You can't do that. I had another friend the other day call me up. Just got out of jail. And they were back on Facebook or whatever, and they were telling me, oh, but I just don't have any. Well, they had a job. They don't got any money or anything else. And it's funny because I knew what they wanted the money for. I didn't give it to them. I didn't give it to them because I don't care about them, because I don't love them. I didn't give it to them because I knew they were going to take it to feed their habit. Because I messed up. I sent money to an old friend of mine once who I did not know was an addict, a meth addict. Because I didn't talk to him like that. It's funny because in a way they were reaching out to me just by asking me that, but instead of sending them the money without thinking about it. Later on that person ended up dying. Not from suicide, but from habit they had. And though they got all cleaned up, or at least we think, it was too late. We don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, but kindness will go a long way. Motivation will go a long way. And each and every one of you, I hope you know you matter. I hope you know that you are important. I hope one day my daughter realizes, or she understands, how important she is to me, and how much she is loved by me, and how protective I am of her. We all don't do things the same way. You know, we can only... I just hope I can be half the dad to my daughter that my father is to me. And a lot of people ask me where I learned all my stuff at, and it's funny because I learned the majority of all my stuff from my dad. I've never been beaten a day in my life. I've never been abused. There was always food on the table, even after mom died. 11-year-old, being 11 years old, you know, think of being a father to an 11-year-old that just lost his wife. And trust me when I say I am not easy to handle. And I had a lot of anger. I had a lot of sadness. But it's what my dad didn't say is what mattered the most. He didn't tell me. He led by example. He still does lead by example. He's not a loud guy like I am. He's not he's not a talkative person like I am. You would never know that he's my dad because he's the exact opposite. But he lived by example. He lived by what his belief systems are, but he never would hurt a soul. And now when I find myself into different things, I have to go and look at what my dad would do. Not what everybody else did, but what would my dad do? Not all of us have that kind of hero in our life. Not all of us have somebody we can talk to all the time, every day. But for a split second, for a moment, by show of kindness, by a please, a thank you, hey, you're looking great today, hey, nice hair, you can change somebody's life just like that. It's that simple. And being that simple, it eludes us. It's kind of like the simpler things are, the harder it is for us to do. That's why going back to writing out a list of what you want, where you want to be, what you want to do, how you want to do it. How many people do you have to help to get to where you want to be? Don't do it in dollar amount. Don't do it. Look at it as in how many people do I have to help that can pull me to the top? Rich people that got money given to them, they got to the top, and they discovered it's the loneliest place in the world without friends. It's the loneliest place in the world without somebody you can depend on or trust. I learned many times over who my friends are. Heck, I'm still learning. But each and every one of you matters. Each and every one of you makes a difference. And that's what I want you to know tonight. I want you to tell your kids you love them. Tell them you're proud of them. Teach them that police officers and firefighters and school teachers and nurses and doctors, teach them they are heroes. And if somebody's not doing something right, don't teach them to hate everybody. Teach them to grow up to do the right thing and to get around the right people. Putting them in front of TV is not going to work. Sitting there catering to them. They're our kids, they're not our friends. And the reason why is I'd rather be a dad than a friend. Because my dad was a father to me. He was not my friend, he was my father. Now he's my friend. Because parents, they worry about us. So, alright everybody, I hope y'all have a great evening. I will talk with everybody soon. Tomorrow, 7 p.m., Mike Malia is going to be on with us for a fireside chat. If anybody has anything you guys want me to talk about or say or do or anything, I'm still sending out all those messages to people. Facebook, eventually, Facebook will kick me off probably. I'm going to end up in Facebook jail or something because I keep sending things to people, but they're my friends. I don't see why I have to have a restriction on how many friends I can talk to in a day or send something out to in a day. But what can I say? They're all coming. All right, everybody. Leave me a comment below in the section. It was kind of boring. I apologize, but know that you matter. You're important. I'm having a hard time seeing. So, by the way, a lot of people don't know that actually I do wear glasses. I have since I was in high school, but I don't usually need them for twilight vision. So, okay, I will holler at you later. Have a good day. If you guys have any questions, need a friend, need something from me, I'm an open book. I'll talk to everybody soon. God bless and see you later.